Hi guys, my name is Girish Bali, your host for today for Back to Basics. Another week of Back to Basics. I hope you're enjoying all the episodes that I've done so far. You've given me all the love and support that you've given me, and it's been wonderful. And the gratitude that I'm getting from you guys is just amazing. A plus, I would say. So today we have a guest where he's an author, he's a trainer. We'll talk about that as to what his whole journey is all about. It's about people skills. Well, we'll talk about that too. So his name is Jatinder Mohan. We will call him Jatin, and I think I've taken the approval for that name and shortened his name out. But he's an amazing guy that I've spoken to him several times, and he's a gem of a person. So we will talk to Jatin right now. So Jatin, thank you for coming on my show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Girish.
Yeah. So before we get into everything else, what does back to basic mean to you?
Oh, if I look at my own life and the way I've been running it, I think for me it's always been back to basics.
Okay.
So whether I'm teaching, I'm training, I train some of the largest MNCs in the world, and it's funny how every time people, they hit a wall, they realize the easiest thing, and the best way of getting over the wall is going back to the basics.
So how ironic is it that I have a show based out of your journey, and it's amazing that I have that.
Yeah, that's true, Girish. I mean, so when I saw back to basics, I was wondering maybe I should have had this show myself. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I mean, you and me are in a kind of a same journey as we're
Yeah,
doing, and we're
true.
trying to make people make aware of the small basic journey that we have here. So,
True.
Jatin, before we get into all the other details about your life, right? Um, so, what is this people skill? And you're a trainer, yeah. So,
Yeah.
what do you skill for the people? I should say.
Okay. Yeah. Um, actually, my skill set is all about soft skills. So when we, considering 1997 when I started off my company, and India was in the throes of the software revolution,
Yeah.
and everyone was into training, but every time you spoke about someone being a trainer, it was always to do with software related training.
Mm-hmm.
And there I was, talking to people about soft skills training. It's about how do you communicate, leadership, how to work in teams. So that is where I started off
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have a background in software.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm out and out a sales and marketing person
Mm-hmm.
who's been teaching and training people on sales and marketing
Mm-hmm.
for the longest time I can remember.
Mm. So, so how did this whole author thing happened for you? I mean, I think that when I spoke with you, that happened by accident, and I think you just wrote something. And I read some few examples of the book, and it's quite encouraging that you put each and every minute detail into this book. So, can you explain the process of that?
Yeah. Actually, see, if I really look at this journey of mine, and I find that when I got into training, I was into sales and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I was selling paints for Asian Paints and televisions for Onida and ice creams. So I sold a whole lot of things before I got into training. When I realized I mean, that was what I wanted to do all my life. Stand in front of anywhere from 20 to 120 people and talk to them. And that's what I enjoy doing most. And then I realized that majority of the time when I was teaching people, the examples that I was using was all from my personal life that I had led all along. I come from a business background. So it was easy for me to go and relate to the business examples that came to me from my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm from a background, where my granddad was into manufacturing sports goods. My dad was into selling sports goods. We had a sports goods store. So sales and marketing came easily to me. So when I realized that there's so much I had in my life that I could actually go out over there and um, just connect to very easily.
Yeah.
So that is when I remember my granddad. He would be sitting over there and making rackets. He was actually I'm talking about the times when the rackets were still made of wood.
Yes.
The badminton rackets and the
Yes.
tennis rackets were still made of wood.
Yes.
Of course, the present day kids do not even know that,
Yeah.
right?
No, they
So
don't.
and he
Yeah.
would be sitting over there and making them himself. He was a Gandhian, and I think if uh, the way I run my life, or the way I lead my life, is a reflection of what I taught, or what I learned from my granddad.
Yeah.
So those stories came very easily to me,
Hmm.
and so I would those are stories I would talk, I would relate to during my training programs, during my teaching programs. I take sessions for MBA schools in Bangalore,
Hmm.
and very often I would just put those stories down. And then I had a collection of close to 200 stories.
Mm-hmm.
Then I thought, I was talking like I've written in my book. Uh, my wife was, is a person who loves reading what I've been writing. So she ended up reading a few of the stories and said, you know what, these actually sound good.
Hmm.
Then my daughter, looked at one of the stories, and of course the story was about her, and she loved what she read, and she said, Pa, actually, yeah, this is sounding really good. And so, from an audience of two, I decided, why not go over there and let other people read and tell me about my stories.
Yeah, but Jatin, just keep in mind that when we do something, right, your
Yep,
immediate family will will say, you know what, leave it alone, don't do it, because I think it's only us who will like it. So what,
absolutely.
so how did you just say, you know what, let's forget about all these guys and let me just do it regardless? Is that how you felt,
Yeah.
or because, or they even gave you more courage saying, okay, you know what, this is a golden thing for you?
See, actually, when I talk about my wife, and I find, she can be critical. She's not, all honey when she talks to me. I mean, if she finds that I'm doing something which she does not like, she just tells me upfront, I don't think this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been with me right from 1997. Like I've been training from 1994. So she was my audience to start with.
Mm.
Okay. And I would tell her, this is what I'm going to do in my training program. And if she did not like it, she would actually tell me that I don't like this.
Yeah, yeah,
So to that extent, when my wife told me that I actually like your stories, I took her at face value, because I knew she was not trying to please me by saying, that, oh, what you're saying is great.
yeah,
So she
yeah,
liked it, and so I decided, why not go all out?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, sometimes your own family is, it's like a push for you, and in a positive way. So sometimes,
Absolutely, yes,
yeah, in a positive
that's
way.
true.
So when I read most of the paragraphs, I was quite intrigued about each and every step about, let's say, making butter.
Yep.
That was quite very cool actually when I read
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Step by step, and how your grandmother and all the details of that. Do you think the reason why you wrote the book is because maybe down the lane I will forget all these minute stories and just put that in writing? Is that how you felt?
Yeah. I think it was not because I thought I would forget of the stories. It was
Hmm.
about this is part of me and my growing up. Let's say part of my heritage, so to say, right?
Yes.
Part of my family
Yes.
background,
Yeah.
and I just wanted my daughter to know that what you see butter and the way we make it. Because today you have butter churners and etc. And the electricity runs it. Uh, I'm talking about the days not very long ago, or maybe quite long ago. About 40 odd years ago,
Yes.
when my grandmom would actually go around and do that without any of the gadgets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to put that down on paper,
Mm-hmm.
and let the world know, that 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, uh, we were still churning butter, but differently.
Yeah. Let me give you an example, Jatin. So I think maybe a year back, my daughter is 8 at that time. So when we had a power outage, okay, there was no internet, there's no nothing, so I didn't have a backup at that time. That's a separate story altogether. So, but the main story is that she's used to listening music, on her phone, so which is internet based, which is internet radio based. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I told her, why don't you turn on the radio? And she's like, well, the Alexa is not working because my internet is not there. I said, okay, but then when I think of radio, when you think of radio, Jatin, we think of the transistors that we have back in the days, okay?
True.
And my stereo has that capability, but she didn't understand that. So the youngsters nowadays, they will not understand the basics of a butter, a radio, or any manual thing that we used to do back in the days. Nowadays when we say cut a grass, then they think of lawnmower, but in our times it used to be the scissors that we used to cut. So small minute stuff. I think kids nowadays, I mean, it's a shame. I mean, that's how life is. And you know what, I'm not complaining, life is great, but the thing is that we tend to forget where we come from. We're not talking India, we're talking overall around the world. So yeah, I mean, just like a telephone, we used to well, now we're just pressing buttons, right? But in olden times used to be the rotary phones, and that's how I grew up, and that's how you grew up in, and it's kind of weird how life changes. So Jatin, on one of the quotes that you had in the book, or I should say on the Instagram, I'm not really sure where, it said, as a teacher, my only job is to get the students to think. The learning takes care of itself. Can you explain that line? Because that's a beautiful line.
Okay. Um, for that, if you don't mind, I'll have to take you back to my college and school days.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I still am in touch with my professor, who's 84 years old. And he used to teach us zoology in St. Joseph's College of Arts and Science in Bangalore.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, there was a syllabus, and there were topics that he was supposed to cover. But most importantly, what he got us to do was, I remember, in the second year, he walked into the classroom and he said, "I'm dividing all you people into teams of 4 or 5 each, and each one of the team is going to be given a topic, and you guys are going to do presentations, and that is how we're going to go around and cover the entire syllabus. Wherever I find that there is a lacune, or there's information missing, I'll fill in those blanks." And that is how we're going to go around and start doing my lessons. And I remember we didn't like it very much because no one really wants to work hard. Okay. But then and ours was the time, when we have to go back, no Google. So I remember sitting in the library with those friends of ours, pouring through books and making up presentations. We made charts, why? Because again, there was no overhead projectors and stuff like that. And I mean, computers had not, had not been invented at that time. And so I remember we sat down over there, and the learning was spectacular. When I started walking into classrooms, I realized I needed to do exactly the same thing. If I could get my students to start thinking about the subject, learning is going to actually be a byproduct of it.
Yeah. So Jatin, I mean, or I should say my listeners too, there's, it's a reference that I'm going to do from an Indian movie. So I apologize to my listeners. I know we have listeners around the world, but you should see this one particular movie. You must have heard it. It's called Three Idiots. Now, don't go by the story. Don't go by the love story. Don't go by the three guys and all that. Go with the main story of that one particular character. He made a simple thing into an invention, and he has created that monster, just like what Jatin said, like take the basics of, let's say, I don't know, like a wheel turning, a manual thing, or maybe a plane, or maybe if you want to open a wine bottle, how would you do that manually versus electrically? Like those type of things. And it's very, very. I mean, he's an engineer according to the character, and he thinks out of the book. He does not know anything about books, but he knows how to invent, and I think that's where we miss sometimes the manual stuff, Jatin. Right? I think,
Yeah,
uh,
that's true. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that movie touched me quite well on that part,
Yeah.
and I like that movie either way.
That's true.
So Jatin, so when did this whole thing start for you for the people skills? Were you always like that, or there was a some event happened and you said, you know what, this is the way I'm gonna be?
No, like a normal guy, I finished my college. I did my MBA from Bangalore University
Yeah,
and took up a job.
yeah.
And I realized I was not very good at taking instructions, you know, for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So every year or so, I would change my job.
Mm,
In about 6 years, I'd changed 5 jobs, and because nothing was really interesting me,
mm,
and but all along, I realized that one thing I always enjoyed was standing in front of people and teach and train. And then suddenly there was, and my wife ended up, seeing an advertisement for NIIT, which called for sales trainers, NIS, National Institute of Sales. And she said, you know what, you should try this. And I applied and I got the job.
mm.
And the first training program I entered, and that was a 3-day session, with Birla Yamaha gensets. And I remember enjoying myself immensely. And I realized that is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Mm,
And then that's what I've been doing from 1994, just teaching and training,
mm.
walking into classrooms in front of 20 to 120 people and teaching.
Isn't
That's
it
what I love.
isn't it so like amazing, Jatin, when you do something in a career, you enjoy what you do. It's not your yes, I understand we have to pay bills and all that stuff and make a career out of it, but at the end of the day, that career needs to give you fulfillment and
Absolutely.
joy within yourself. and
True.
and I think the reason why I got you in this show is because you understand the basics, you understand the joyful, you understand the struggles, um, for for your future, really. And then I think you're doing the same thing for your kids, so it's amazing how you
Absolutely.
do that. So
If
so
I may, Girish, I remember I was in Joseph's, going back to my Joseph's days, if you don't mind my saying. Uh, I was greatly into environment science.
yeah.
I was into jungles, Every jungle I would have spent a couple of weeks. We would just, as friends, disappear in jungles, for a couple of weeks.
Mm.
And remember, those were the days of no connectivity, no phones, no mobiles.
Yes.
And have trekked the Western Ghats, climbed enough number of places, trekked the jungles, drunk water directly from the streams,
Hmm.
uh, because those days we could. Okay, and the funny thing was that when I started training, and then I decided that I wanted to do what we call an outbound training program,
Hmm.
and then everything that I had done during my college days,
Hmm.
trekking, climbing, crossing rivers, I incorporated those exercises into my outbound training programs.
Hmm. So can you explain what type of trainings you teach?
And I think I've done over 200, 250 training programs with some of the largest corporates in the world.
Mm.
And that's been immensely satisfying and gratifying.
Mm.
How it in life?
Yeah. So can you explain what type of trainings you are providing?
Oh, like I said, we are into communication skills,
Mm-hmm.
presentations, but most importantly, the trainings that I really, really enjoy doing and I've done huge numbers have been to do with leadership and outbound, and team building programs. movements.
Mm-hmm.
And almost all the exercises that I do, they have been designed by me and my wife. We sit over here, we design the exercises ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the exercises that we take people through, they are not from Google, they're not from any textbook.
Mm-hmm.
We have designed them all,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're fun exercises.
Yeah.
So I don't really require a room or some such thing. I can be out there in the wilderness and I can design an exercise right then and there,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what I really want to draw out of that exercise.
So this exercise and the training that you do, you think um, you have a little setback due to COVID, or you think things have been
Uh,
normal? Uh,
yeah. Yes, see, the outbound training programs have not been happening now for a while.
yeah.
So, but the fun part is that I've been able to go around and use them even online. So
Yeah.
I still do my teaching and training on online,
Okay.
and my online sessions can be equally fun.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah.
I can use a paper and get people to to do exercises, and they've been fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So and these are all ages and all genders coming there to your trainings.
Absolutely. So yeah, it is not gender specific. You have got girls, boys, men, women. They're all part and parcel of those
Yeah.
activities and training programs.
Yeah.
I do my I teach marketing and management to some of the kids, and I again use my exercises to to help people to understand concepts.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do marketing, I actually go around and tell. For example, I could tell them to go out over there and sell me a mobile, and then get them to realize, you know, the four and the seven P's of marketing, and we can draw the entire thing out based on just the selling of the mobile
Yeah.
phone,
I remember
and
in
that
my
becomes fun.
school days they actually told me go and sell a pencil and tell me how can you sell a pencil. So it was a quite good exercise at in those times. So Jatin, so what do you see yourself in the next 5 years? I mean, you have a book. You think you're gonna have another book?
Yeah, because I'm even after this book has come out, I've been writing, and some of the stories happened because I was, like I told you, I was in Jalandhar in my at my father's, death, and there were a number of stories that came up, and it was good fun. Me and my family members sitting over there, and some of them have, I've written stories about those again.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, 5 years from down the line, I hope I have a couple of more books.
Hmm.
I will continue to teach and train.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, that's going to be the way forward as far as I'm concerned.
Well, next time when you have a book, please keep us in mind and keep in touch also at the same time, Jatin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So, any last words before we leave? Before we come walk with me, journey.
See, the only thing I would like to tell people is that of late I've been hearing this couple of words which people have been throwing at me constantly. Which is saying toxic positivity, right? And I want to tell people uh, these are two words which don't actually go together.
Yeah.
Uh, Positivity cannot be toxic, right? Uh, we need to be able to go out over there and live our life positively with a smile on our faces, right? Happiness is something that we can go out of there and make for ourselves.
Yeah.
But the truth is, we go out of a way to go around and make ourselves unhappy. So I would want people to go out of there and pick up happiness,
Mm, mm, mm.
over unhappiness.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jatin, for coming on the show and giving us an insight about your journey and the book that you have given us. And the book name is obviously, what is it called again? Come Walk with Me. And it is a very
Yes, come
nice
walk.
journey. So it's basically taking a walk with him with his journey. So it's beautifully written, and some of the words are just amazing, and the samples that I've read so far. I will keep you in touch and give you an update of how I feel about that book. Thank you so much, Jatin, for coming on the show. So,
Thank you so much,
guys,
Harish. Yeah.
Thank you. So guys, we have talked to Jatin today, right? And we he's an author, he's a trainer, he's a positive guy. I mean, it's amazing. So there's a quote from his own book, or I should say his Instagram or whatever you want to call it. The quote that I have here is, life is just about finding happiness. Just like what he said, it's about positivity, it's about happiness, about all the small stories. You know, think about this. The reason why I got him is he's an author, yes. He has a book, yes. He's a trainer, yes. But anybody can be an author, anybody can have positivity. And that's what we're trying to do in this show, give positivity around the world with all the negativities around us. Just brush that away. So just keep in mind, at the end of the episode, I always say, everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what I did today. Guys, I will see you next week. Keep on commenting, good or bad. It will make my show stronger day by day, each by each episode. So God bless, take care, keep on supporting me on my small journey. Thank you, and I'll see you next week. Thank you. Next week's episode on Back to Basics. Why concept?
I'll tell you. So when we were opening this business, this was on the heels of me abruptly closing my last salon. I had this huge salon and spa, and so we closed that, and within a week we signed our lease on this one, and we weren't expecting to close the other business. It just happened so quickly. So we were opening this business, and the new landlord said to me, "Well, fine, I'm willing to take a chance on you, but what's the name of your business?" And I was just like, the name, I don't know. And then I was like, well, give me 24 hours. Let me just think about it. I promise you, I'll give you a name, So I get back and I'm sitting with the team that I had. And I'm like, what should we call it? What should we call it? And because we have such a different concept, because of what we're doing, because, you know, I wanted to create something completely different.